Christianity did not begin divided. For the first centuries of its existence, it saw itself as one universal church, connected through a shared faith, shared traditions, and shared leadership. But over time, two distinct worlds emerged: the Catholic West and the Orthodox East. Their separation, known as the Great Schism of 1054, was not the result of a single argument or event. Instead, it was the culmination of nearly 1,000 years of slow divergence, built through differences in language, culture, politics, and theology. To understand how one Christian faith became two, we begin in the Roman Empire, long before the schism took place. In the year 395, the empire was officially divided into two halves: the Western Roman Empire, governed from Rome, and the Eastern Roman Empire, governed from Constantinople. This division was meant to make rule more efficient, but it had enormous long-term consequences. Over time, the two halves developed very different cultural identities. In the West, Latin shaped intellectual life, law, administration, and theology. In the East, Greek became the language of scholarship, philosophy, and religious discussion. Even though both halves still considered themselves Roman, they were slowly becoming two separate civilizations. This cultural distance already made unity difficult, but the political situation added more pressure. The Western Empire collapsed in the 5th century, leaving the Pope in Rome as one of the few stable authorities left in Western Europe. Meanwhile, the Eastern Empire, known as Byzantium, continued for nearly another 1,000 years, centered around a powerful emperor who worked closely with the Church in Constantinople. This meant that the two churches grew up in completely different political environments. In the West, the Pope became the defender of faith and civilization. In the East, the Church worked alongside a strong imperial government. The difference in leadership models was one of the earliest seeds of division. The Church in Rome believed that the Pope, as successor of the Apostle Peter, held authority over all Christians. Rome pointed to early Christian writings that described Peter as the rock upon which the Church was built. For the Western Church, this meant that the Pope held a unique and universal role. The Eastern Church saw things differently. They believed that leadership was shared among the ancient patriarchs of Rome, Constantinople, Alexandria, Antioch, and Jerusalem. In this system, no single bishop had absolute authority. Instead, decisions were made collectively through councils. The Bishop of Rome held honor as the first among equals, but not the power to rule the entire church. This disagreement regarding leadership was not only spiritual. It affected politics, diplomacy, and everyday church life. It shaped how each side saw the world, and over time it made unity increasingly fragile. Another major cause of division came from theology. One of the most famous controversies was the Filioque issue. The original Christian creed declared that the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father. Centuries later, the Western Church added the phrase, "and the Son," meaning that the Holy Spirit proceeds from both the Father and the Son. The East objected strongly. They believed the creed was universal and could only be changed by a council representing all Christians. To the Eastern Church, the Western edition was an example of Rome acting unilaterally and ignoring the shared traditions of the early Church. This disagreement was not only about a phrase. It symbolized deeper differences in how the two sides understood authority, tradition, and the nature of the Trinity. Other differences also accumulated. Western Christians used unleavened bread during the Eucharist, symbolizing purity. Eastern Christians used leavened bread, symbolizing the risen Christ. Western priests were required to remain celibate. Eastern priests could be married, although bishops were chosen from among the monks. Worship styles differed as well. The West tended to prefer structure and precision. The East preferred mysticism, symbolism, and ancient ritual. These differences might appear small, but together they formed two distinct Christian cultures. As time passed, the two branches found it increasingly difficult to understand one another. Translations were poor. Political tensions made cooperation harder. Accusations and misunderstandings became common. By the 11th century, the relationship was extremely fragile. Debates over authority, theology, and influence intensified. Tensions rose especially around southern Italy, where Eastern and Western Christians lived side by side, each accusing the other of incorrect practices. The final break came in 1054. Pope Leo IX sent Cardinal Humbert to Constantinople to negotiate disputes with the Eastern Patriarch, Michael Cerularius. But the negotiations quickly collapsed. Distrust, pride, and centuries of unresolved conflict made agreement impossible. On July 16th of that year, inside the magnificent Hagia Sophia, Cardinal Humbert placed a bull of excommunication on the altar, cutting the patriarch off from the church. In response, the Eastern bishops issued a counter-excommunication against the Roman delegation. This did not create the divide, it merely formalized a separation that had been growing for centuries. From that day forward, the Christian world was split into two branches: the Catholic Church in the West and the Orthodox Church in the East. After the schism, the two churches developed even more independently. The Catholic Church continued to emphasize papal authority, Latin tradition, and centralized governance. Western Europe experienced great developments in law, education, scholastic theology, and monastic life. The Orthodox Church maintained a more decentralized structure, with each national church led by its own patriarch or archbishop. The Eastern liturgy remained deeply connected to ancient tradition, icons, and the mystical understanding of God. The separation became nearly irreversible after the events of 1204. When Western Crusaders attacked Constantinople during the Fourth Crusade, this event shocked the Eastern world and created wounds that would last for centuries. For the Orthodox Church, the sack of Constantinople was proof that the West had turned against them. Even so, the two branches of Christianity slowly found their own strengths. The Catholic Church played a major role in shaping Western civilization, influencing philosophy, art, education, and science. The Orthodox Church shaped the spiritual world of Eastern Europe and the Middle East, preserving ancient traditions that remain central to Orthodox worship today. In the 20th century, relations began to improve. In 1965, the Pope and the Ecumenical Patriarch lifted the mutual excommunications of 1054. Since then, dialogue has continued, and both sides have worked toward greater understanding. Unity has not been restored, but respect and cooperation have grown significantly. The story of the divide is not one of sudden collapse. It is a reminder that history changes slowly, shaped by culture, language, politics, and human decisions. Two traditions, born from the same faith, traveled different paths for 1,000 years. And although they remain distinct, both continue to shape the Christian world today in profound ways. Thank you for watching. See you in the next documentary.